cold is about on.
I had to go to court this morning.
All right, welcome to Downtown Topeka Rotary. We're going to use our big kid voices for a little while because we're getting a mic replaced. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. I'm Mark DeGroff, your president, and we have an exciting next hour for you. Nicole Revenant is going to do the Rotary Minute and guest introductions, and while she's on her way up, our November featured charity is the Kansas Children's Service League for Restorative Education. Their mission is to protect and promote the well-being of children. Nicole?
I'm going to try to shout too. I don't project as well as Mark. We have two guests with us today, and that is John Hotaling and Chuck Trimble. Chuck was a previous district governor for 5710, and they're both coming from the Burlington Rotary Club today. So, all right. Hi. So my name is Nicole Revenant, if I haven't met some of you already. I'm an attorney at Palmer Law Group by day, and in my spare time, I am the director of Mayor De La Isla's community engagement team here in Topeka. I joined Rotary this past February, so I still consider myself a rookie to this organization. And I'm still learning about all that Rotary has to offer, both its members and all the work we do in the community. I wish I could tell you that I joined Rotary because of an inspiring radio ad, which I know that we're working on, or a logo on a billboard. But the truth is I joined Rotary because Joan Wagner told me to. It was a leap of faith. And I'm kind of ashamed to say, I used to think Rotary was some kind of cycling organization because of the logo. And growing up in Kansas City, the Rotary Club there was really active in the Adopt a Mile signs for all the cleaning up the litter on the streets. So I really thought that the logo looked like the spokes of a bicycle, and so they must have to do with some, cycling group. I have never been more pleased to be wrong about that. So in the short time I've been at Rotary, I've been able to participate in the Highland Park mentoring program. I received a scholarship to go to the Kansas Leadership Center course, which was an amazing experience. I'd recommend to any of you who have to work on adaptive challenges of any kind in your life or work. And I also have already attended the district leadership training for Rotary. And I'm very grateful for those opportunities, and I'm looking forward to becoming even more involved as a board member next year. So in preparing to give the minute today, I was asked to think about what I enjoyed most about Rotary. And what I've seen in these short months is that our downtown Rotary truly connects people and resources with positive community action. Everything from ending polio, collecting shoes, toys, clothes, and donations for students and families, the mentoring program, it all ties back to our shared vision for a better community. And so now I think it's more important than ever to be well informed on the needs of our community, to take pride in our city, and to give back wherever we can to those that need it most. And Rotarians share in that spirit of caring and giving that every person in our community can succeed. Part of my job as the mayor's community engagement team is to connect people and resources to help serve our friends and neighbors that need it most. And so on your table is a sign-up sheet for the mayor's monthly newsletter. Thanks to lawyers like me and pesky regulations, as an elected official, she's not able to just go find friends and family and networks of people to dump into these email lists. So we truly have to reach out to people in the community and say, will you join? Will you agree to receive information? Do you want to get involved? And so by signing up for this newsletter, you're going to get a nonpartisan, non-political email. Just city issues, news going on, events, ways to give back, opportunities to volunteer. I'd encourage all of you to consider. Perfect.
Good afternoon.
All right.
Welcome to the Rotary meeting. Thank you.
I'm almost done. So what I'm trying to do is help us connect. I think what I see in my work with the mayor is that there's all these fascinating organizations all over town, and they keep doing something that's good. They do a mentoring program, they do a donation drive, but I think there's ways for us to consolidate And so if you agree to sign up today, you're going to help me get your email. I can reach out to you and I can help connect the Rotarians to some of these volunteer opportunities in our community that are already in the works, helping to do service in some of the neighborhoods that need it most. So if you have any questions, I'll stick around after, but I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to serve in the Rotary, and I'm looking forward to everything on the horizon next year for the city and Rotary. Thank you.
Next up, we have past President Grace Morrison, who's going to read the full slate of officers this week.
Thank you, and it is my pleasure to get to do this. This is my last official leadership event for our club as your past president. Chris Palmer and others are going to be passing out these blue ballots, and this will be your leadership, hopefully, for next year. And I'd like to read the slate that the nominating committee has put together for you, and I have to do a shout out to the nominating committee. Everybody attended, and much thoughtful input was given to selecting these folks that you see on your ballot. President next year, Joni Underwood. President-elect, Stan Martindale. And Vice President, who will go through the leadership process, who in a couple years will become your president, is Marie Pico. Secretary, Edie Sneven. Treasurer, Kathleen Marker. Sergeant-at-Arms, Russ Cobb. And we have 3 new directors who need to be, 3 people are rolling off, and we need to replace those for 3-year commitments. Those people that we have nominated for you are Vince Fry, Lee Morris, and Nicole Revenaugh, from whom you just heard. And for the nominating committee, the last 5 years of presidents are on this slate, and we ask that you only vote for 2 of those. And if you vote for more than 2, your vote will not be counted at all, so just FYI. Now, I would like to open nominations to the floor. If you have any other nominations, we would be happy to accept those at this point. Hearing none, we will stay with Curtis. Curtis moves that the nominations be closed. I hear many seconds. All in favor? Aye. So this will be your slate. So we'd ask that each of you fill this out. They'll be collected very shortly, and we'll have the results at the end of the meeting. So thank you all very much.
Thank you, Grace. We'll move right on with that. And if each person, if one person at each table would help collect those and fold those over, that'd be great. Next up is Wayne Pancos to share with you an exciting new opportunity.
You may have noticed the cups on your tables that we normally put our donations in for the charity are full of paper. This is not a mistake. This is actually intended. This month, as was mentioned, our charity is Kansas Children's Service League. As a community service project, we want to donate needed supplies that they'll use to create fresh start kits for women. We have talked with the charity, and we received a list of items for what they need to provide the essentials they need for women to get a fresh start. So this week and next, instead of putting money in the cup, what we're going to do is called a reverse cup. And we're going to take these slips of paper out of the cup. So if you take a slip of paper out of the cup, and you take 1 or more slips, no matter what you want to decide, just like you can put $1, $2, $3, $5 or whatever in the cup, you can take many slips out. But whatever's on that slip, if you can purchase that and bring that back to either next week's meeting or the meeting afterwards, we'll have collection bins, and we'll donate those items to the Kansas Children's Service League to be able to put in the Fresh Start kits. So feel free to take out as many slips of paper as you want. We'll have them on the tables for the next couple of weeks, and then next week and the following week we will have the bins for collection. We think this is a great way to support our charities, and we'll do this maybe a couple of times a year just to kind of switch things up.
Thank you, Wayne. That was another idea that the service committee and Wayne brought from other Rotary clubs, so we're excited to shake it up a little bit. We do have a scholarship presentation, and Gordon Lansford is next up on that. We do also still need more mentors to sign up online, and for Covered in Coats, we have those dates coming up on the 6th and the 7th, and online sign up for that as well. Gordon?
Thank you very much, President Mark. It's my great honor and pleasure to be able to present a scholarship to an international student at Washburn University. This is the Francine Hines Memorial Scholarship. Francine was a long-time Rotarian, very active in our community, was on the Washburn Board of Regents, and the number of accomplishments she had is endless. She grew up in Brussels, Belgium, French-speaking, as some of you may recall, Brussels, Belgium, and came to the United States in 1946 after the war, and married a soldier that she met over there. How many of you in this room, I know we have a lot of new members. If you would, if you knew Francine Hines, would you please raise your hand? Oh, that's wonderful. She was a treasure. Thank you so much. A treasure. And I'm inadequate when I stand up here to try and replace her because she was so eloquent and so meticulous about the process and the results that this program has been successful over many, many years. My honor today to introduce to you Quan Lee. Quan is a student at Washburn University, and he said, "Call me John." So the first thing he learned is make the name easy. And he's done that already, so he's got a great accomplishment. But the thing I'd like, he's from Ho Chi Minh City, Vietnam. His parents went above and beyond to make sure that he got to the United States so that he could go to college. During high school, he had an A average through all of his classes, and probably the most important thing to him right now, today, is that he's 17 years old. He's in the United States, he's in college in his freshman year, and his birthday is November the 12th. So next week, let's say happy birthday. Happy birthday. And he hasn't traveled much, so this is his first time in the United States, and he's doing well. He plays soccer. He won 2 competitions in his school. He won both a silver medal and a gold medal in English. And that's because his dad said when he was really young, 3 or 4 years old, it's very important that you learn English. You'll be much more successful if you do. And he did, and I can attest that he does it well. He is a biochemistry major. Obviously, in a freshman year, it's it could change a little bit, but his goal is to work for a PhD in something related to chemistry. So it's a great honor for the Rotary Club of Topeka to present to Quan Lee a scholarship for $1,000 for continuing his education. Please join me in congratulating him. You'd like to say something?
So first of all, I would like to say thank you for the amount of money that I received from the Rotary Club. So my family is not the most well-off family, but I am certain that this money will help us a lot in the future, and especially for me continuing my studies without much worrying about monetary matters. So with this money in hand, I'm sure that I will achieve much more in the future and pursue my ultimate dream of being a researcher in the field of biochemistry. Thank you so much.
Congratulations. Next up, we have Carrie Norberry, and right after her is Blanche Parks with a special thank you. So Carrie's up now to chat about career days briefly.
Hey, who's collecting ballots?
Carrie is.
Give me just a minute, I'll get that real fast right there.
And Chris and somebody else.
Yeah, when every table, you put every.
So a friendly reminder that we have Rotary Days coming up, November 13, 14, and 15. We've got the boards back there. This is an incredible opportunity. All the 8th graders from the entire 501 school district will be on the Washburn Tech campus getting a full tour of all of the different programs. And it's really important that we have support from Rotary there because Rotary is the one paying for the buses for those students to be able to have this opportunity. And it ties in beautifully with the fact that all students in the state of Kansas now are required to complete individual plans of study, thinking about in middle school what they're going to be doing in high school that leads to either an educational goal or a career goal after they graduate from high school. So we want them thinking about these opportunities that they have available to them, especially since while they're in high school, the state of Kansas pays their tuition to enroll in any of our programs as well. So we encourage them to think of it as their first big scholarship for that junior, senior year. So on the boards back there are the signups. We're going to have anywhere from 150 to about 190 students in each of the sessions. So lots of volunteers. You all know how 8th graders are. We need help keeping them corralled. Don't worry, you don't have to give the tour. I've got people on my staff that's going to do that. We just need Rotary folks to help keep the kids moving along. They have a tendency to wander. So thank you. If you guys could please sign up, that'd be great.
Carrie.
Did I break it?
There we go. Carrie and Andy Tompkins are heading up the Career Days effort this year, and Blanche is next up with a thank you, but you might think of Andy. If you're a praying person or somebody who sends get well soon notes and sympathy cards, he had his shoulder replaced this morning. So he's done great work on that committee, and I'm excited for Career Days. Blanche?
Thank you, President Mark. Hi, everybody. I'll just be real brief, but this past Wednesday was World Polio Day all over the world for Rotary. And I wanted to do something different, something big, you know, something fun. So I thought, well, let's go to the Capitol building. And so we were able to reserve the Capitol building all to ourselves, pretty much, for Rotary. We had a program and a tour around the Capitol building and a march for polio. That event could not have happened without this club. And so I wanted to be sure and give a special thanks to this club because everybody I asked, they came through for me. And it just means so much to me. And the event was a great success. And so to this group, my home club downtown Topeka, I just want to say thank you very much. I really do appreciate it.
We have one returning community service member. Irene Haas has turned her application back in and is joining us. And now it's my pleasure to introduce Joan Wagner, who will introduce our speaker. Joan?
Thank you. Well, I think you're in for a treat today. We have Mark Yardley, and he joined the Federal Home Loan Bank of Topeka in 1984. He's gone through the ranks. He's been an internal auditor. He's been a financial officer, a chief risk officer, interim president, and finally CEO on March 24th of 2017. He's a public accountant, and he's a member of the Kansas Society of CPAs and the AICPA. And before joining the Federal Home Loan Bank, he worked for a national public accounting firm. He graduated summa cum laude from Washburn University with a degree in business administration in accounting. He's a trustee and director for the Washburn University Foundation and serves as chair of its audit committee. He's treasurer at the Topeka Bible Church and a trustee for the University of Kansas Health System's St. Francis campus, and an at-large member of the Greater Topeka Partnership Chairs Council. We're very fortunate. Federal Home Loan Bank has been a great supporter of Rotary and our fundraising efforts, being one of the prime sponsors, and made possible a lot of this charitable work that you've heard Rotary do. So it's with great pleasure I introduce Mark Yardley.
Once mayor, always mayor. When she said she was pleased to have me here, obviously she hadn't heard me speak before. But, for those of you who have, you're going to hear me repeat a number of things because some things don't change. Facts about our building, and you'll also hear me say a lot of numbers and facts and figures today. For those of you that aren't numbers people, I apologize. But I am an accountant by trade, so I've spent 7 years in public accounting. I am a lifelong Topeka. I grew up in the Oakland neighborhood, State Street Elementary, Holiday Junior High, Highland Park High School, Washburn University. I consider myself a Topekan through and through. So the time at the Federal Home Loan Bank has been a great experience. Makes me feel old though when I realize that the Federal Home Loan Bank has been around for 86 years, and I've been there about 40% of the 86 years that it's been in existence. So long time. Seen a lot of change in those years. When I started the Federal Home Loan Bank in 1984, there were 75 employees, which included item processing, and that was probably about half of it. Item processing, check processing, we did for financial institutions. Mainly thrifts, because that was our membership at that time. Thrifts, savings and loan, building loans, etc. Today we have over 230 business partners. If you ever want to realize why we call them business partners, I can spend some more time talking to you. But we sold our item processing business in 1998, so that was the large portion. So we've grown a lot as a business since then. First thing I'm going to tell you about is a little bit about the Federal Home Loan Bank history. What is the Federal Home Loan Bank? Most people don't really understand what a Federal Home Loan Bank is and what we do. Talk about the Federal Home Loan Bank of Topeka, Federal Home Loan Bank system, then I'll talk a little bit about a short history of the Federal Home Loan Bank system and from the very start, and why it has significant Topeka roots. Federal Home Loan Bank system was created in 1932 by the Federal Home Loan Bank Act of 1932. We are a wholesale bank. We do not, despite having home loan in our name, we don't originate home loans. We are a wholesale bank in that we lend money and do things for our members. I'll explain a little more about who is our members a little bit later. We're a government-sponsored enterprise, GSE, because we're a product of legislation. Our primary mission is providing member financial institutions with liquidity and other financial products. Originally, we were supporting just the home loan market, as the name implies, but over the years we've transitioned into being a source of liquidity and community investment dollars for a lot of financial institutions. And originally, just our members were building and loans, savings and loans, and thrifts, because they did the majority of the home loans at that time. Federal Home Loan Bank Topeka mission is we make a difference by providing reliable liquidity and funding to help our members build strong communities. Doesn't tell you a whole lot about what we do, but the idea is that our purpose is building the communities. We realize that having financial institutions and strong financial institutions in the communities are important to those communities. Federal Home Loan Bank system consists of 11 Federal Home Loan Banks around the United States, plus the Office of Finance. The Office of Finance is our fiscal agent. The Federal Home Loan Banks borrow in the global financial markets. We issue our debt at just over the Treasury rate. So, for example, 2-year Treasuries might issue for 2.8%. We would issue a debt at like 2.87% 2 years. So we're borrowing at 7 basis points, or just slightly over the U.S. Treasury. So we're viewed as a very strong financial institution, as that would indicate. Other than the U.S. Treasury, the Federal Home Loan Banks are the largest borrower in the United States. We borrow a lot of money in the global financial markets. Currently, over $1 trillion outstanding in Federal Home Loan Bank debt from the 11 Federal Home Loan Banks. The 11 Federal Home Loan Banks are all independently operated. They have their own management. They have their own board of directors. There's no common management that brings them together as a system. We are regulated by the Federal Housing Finance Agency, so we do have a federal regulator, but we actually fund our federal regulator and their Office of Inspector General. In addition to making money, we actually pay for our regulator. We're cooperative. Our members own our capital. We're self-capitalizing, which means that when a member borrows from us, they're also required to buy capital stock. The capital stock trades at I say trades, it is par value at $100. They buy it at $100 and they sell it back to us at $100. That's just the way the law works. Each Federal Home Loan Bank has its own capital plan, so each operates a little bit different as far as getting. You have to buy stock to be a member, and then as you borrow more, you then invest more in capital stock. So that's the self-capitalizing. But each bank has its own capital plan. Our capital plan is the most unique in the system, but too complicated to actually explain. But our stock requirement is 4.5% of whatever they borrow from us. So if they borrow in advance for $1 million, they have to buy $45,000 worth of stock from us. The Office of Finance, as I mentioned earlier, is our fiscal agent. They issue and service all our debt. They also issue our combined financial statements, not consolidated, they're combined. That's because there's not a entity at the top that's actually a holding company or anything that brings all of them together. Each of the federal loan banks are SEC registrants, though. But the borrowers aren't interested in each federal loan bank. They're interested in the 11 as they come together. That's because the debt in the federal loan bank system is called a joint and several obligation, meaning that the debt that maybe New York borrows, we're responsible for. If something happens in New York, they go down, and they don't have enough to make up repay their debt, each of the other federal home loan banks has the obligation to step in and pay those obligations. So that SEC registrant at a federal home loan bank system doesn't mean a whole lot, but the buyers of our debt are interested in our combined financial statements, and that's why the Office of Finance is so important. Each of the federal home loan banks is made up of district of states and territories. Some of the banks have territories, like Guam is within the territory of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Des Moines. Our 4 states, we have 4 states: Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, and Oklahoma. If you go to the Federal Home Loan Bank of Topeka, look out front, we have 5 flags, the United States flag, and 1 for each of the 4 states that we represent. So some people don't quite notice that we do have those flags out front, but that's what they represent. Federal Home Loan Bank members are commercial banks, thrifts, credit unions, insurance companies, and community development financial institution, non-depository, but there aren't very many of those. The system membership is around 7,300. Current membership for the Federal Home Loan Bank of Topeka is 721. 587 banks, 86 credit unions, 25 thrifts, 21 insurance companies, and 2 non-depository CDFIs. Federal Home Loan Bank's major lines of business, there's really 4 of them that I'll mention. Advances to our members, secured advances, secured loans that we lend money to them that they can use pretty much however they like. They can borrow it in lots of different terms, variable or fixed. So we pretty much create whatever they want. Line of credit, which is overnight borrowing. We offer a complete spectrum up to 30-year advances to our members. Most of our borrowing from our members, though, is primarily short-term, because the majority of our members now are banks, so their needs are usually much shorter term than our thrifts were. We also buy mortgages from our members. Buying mortgages from our members allows those members to liquidate. We provide liquidity for those mortgages. Ours is a little bit different than Fannie and Freddie, who buys them, puts them in mortgage-backed securities and then sells them. We actually hold them on our balance sheet. And the difference there too is that our members have skin in the game, meaning that they provide us with a credit enhancement. That credit enhancement, they're taking credit risk, and in return we pay them like 10 basis points per year, per annum, for taking that credit risk. And what it does is allows them to get a good price up front. Plus, since they generate very quality loans and they have skin in the game, they're less likely to generate bad loans. So over the crisis, the credit crisis back in 2007, 2008, our loan losses were 1 basis point. That's 1/100%. So extremely, extremely low. Our members generate and sell mortgage loans to us that are high quality. We also issued letters of credit for public unit deposits. That's when a bank has a deposit over the insured amount, they secure it with a letter of credit, or securities. Letters of credit are a lot easier for them to use. We also have housing grants, housing programs. We do contribute 10% of our money to each year to an affordable housing program that is distributed through a competitive program, plus distributed through first-time home buyer grants through our members. This year, based on last year's income, we had about $22 million. 14 million of it was distributed in a competitive grants, and then 8 million was through our members. So a good source of housing funding for low and very low income. The total assets of the 11 federal home loan banks as of September 30 was $1.1 trillion. Topeka was the smallest of the federal home loan banks at $51.3 billion. Next smallest is Boston, 64.7. Indianapolis is 66.5. We have always been the smallest or near the smallest of the federal home loan banks. That's just a function of our district and who we are. We have a lot of small financial institutions. Our largest depository financial institution in our 4-state district that's a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank, and remember most are, is about $33 billion. 5 other federal home loan banks have more advances outstanding to just 2 of their members than we have total outstanding advances, which is, as of September 30, $28.5 billion outstanding to our members. That's just because we have many small financial institutions, which we call community financial institutions, that are spread throughout our district, especially rural ones in Nebraska, Kansas, and Oklahoma, less so in Colorado as far as rural and agriculture. You just have to realize the size of the other cities that the other federal home loan banks are in. Speaking of Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, Dallas, New York, Pittsburgh, San Francisco, Topeka kind of stands out in that group. In 2017, the 11 federal home loan banks had a combined net income of $3.4 billion. Topeka's income was $197 million. Despite being the smallest of the federal home loan banks, we have over the last 10 years, we have the first or second, depending on how you compute it, highest ROE in the system, so we operate pretty efficiently. As I said, 10% of our income goes toward affordable housing grants as a system in 2017 that will be distributed in 2018. It's $384 million. So we spent a lot of money towards affordable housing as a system. I would state too that the money that we allocate for affordable housing goes directly to affordable housing. Nothing comes out of that for staffing. We have about 15, 16 people in our affordable housing area, and that's paid out of the essentially the members' profits, if you will, as a cooperative. We pay for that, and we don't take that out of the affordable housing grants that we offer. Now I'll give you a little bit of a history lesson of the deep Topeka connection Federal Home Loan Bank system. As I said, the Federal Home Loan Banks were founded in 1932. At the time of the legislation, Charles Curtis, a Topekan, was the Vice President of the United States. He's the highest ranking office ever held by an individual of Native American descent. Unlike Elizabeth Warren, he was 3/8 Native American and could verify that heritage. Sorry, I couldn't pass that up. That was not a political statement, believe me. Unlike today, the vice president was actually very involved in writing legislation at that time, and Charles Curtis was very good at it because he had been a senator from Kansas for years before that and held a lot of leadership positions in the Senate during that time. So as a result of him being involved in the legislation and writing it, that's why we have a Federal Home Loan Bank in Topeka. So that's one of the Federal Home Loan Bank Topeka and Topeka connections. The other one was Curtis brought in a gentleman from also from the U.S. League of Savings Institution, and his name was Chester Sterling. Chester Sterling came from a small institution, some rinky-dink organization called Capital Building and Loan. Still in existence today, better known by Capital Federal. So a very, very quality organization in our. He actually helped write it, and then he became the first president of the Federal Home Bank in Topeka at that time after having written it. So a lot of connections for Topeka for the Federal Home Loan Banks. So I'm pretty biased as to why I want to keep them in Topeka. We did have a decision a little while back when we built our building, and felt strongly we needed to stay here in Topeka. I'm very happy we did. Just a little more history. Thrift savings loan, building loans, and life insurance companies were the original members of the Federal Home Loan Banks, because the building and loans were the ones that offered long-term mortgages at the time, and thrift membership at that time was mandatory. If you were a thrift, got a thrift charter, you had to be a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank because you could get liquidity through us if you needed it for, you know, I'm trying to think. It's a Wonderful Life. They could have gotten money from us. With the passage of the Financial Institution Reform, Recovery, and Enforcement Act of 1989 by RIA, it was a U.S. law that was passed in the wake of the savings and loan crisis in the 1980s. Membership of the Federal Home Loan Banks became voluntary, but they also allowed us to have members that were banks and credit unions as well. So they expanded our membership. As you recall, my numbers previously, 587 of our 721 members are banks now. We would not be in existence if we had not had that legislation. Thrifts went out of business. You remember, if you're from Topeka very long, Shawnee Federal, got Topeka Savings, Anchor Savings, People Savings. I could probably go on. CapFed is really the only one left of that group. At the time, in the mid-'80s, we had approximately 200 members, and all of those were thrifts at that time. We did not have any insurance company members at that time. Today, we only have 25, as I said previously, 25 thrift members. So if we had been relying on the thrift industry to this day, we definitely would be a non-existent organization. I will tell you that walking into banks, I was there when it happened. Walking into banks, it was a tough sell, as they associated the Federal Home Loan Banks with the thrifts, and consequently, you know, they were more likely to kick us out the door than listen to our membership pledge. But now, just a little bit of information on our building. We spent 2 years planning our building, and then we broke ground in May 2016 and moved in January 12th, 2018. 95,000 square feet, a lot of collaboration space. We built it, not, you know, if your dad had me build it, it probably would have looked different, but we listened to the experts and built it a lot different. Collaboration space, built it for millennials who we hope will be the future of the organization and Federal Home Loan Bank for years. The business partners, employees were involved in every phase of picking out the furnishings and cafeteria, selecting cafeteria, workstations, everything they were involved in, even the artwork. And all our artwork is either created in the 10th district or from Topeka. We have a lot of Topeka connection with the artists that are in our building. The exterior, the thing I'm most proud of is Onega, Kansas limestone. That was something that I pushed hard for, as well as there was one from Missouri, and that went down on my list quite a bit. I like his tie, his KU tie. We do have our application in for a gold LEED certification. That's leadership in energy and environmental design. We won't know until sometime later this year, maybe after the first year. It's a process of sending the information in, but it doesn't end when you send it in. It also goes over a long period of time. You have to make commitments of things you're going to do in the future as far as recycling and energy. Our building has 96 400-foot deep holes in our parking lot, part of our geothermal. Those holes come in 8 sections, each 12 in each, and about 11,000 gallons of water flow through those. So we are 40% more efficient than the majority, than any buildings in I shouldn't say any buildings. It's your standard office building, and probably the most efficient in Topeka with our geothermal. We also, 2% of our electricity comes from solar panels on the roof. We did build it a lot with local partners, architects work, design group, general contractor McPherson, civil engineer Bartlett and West, Samco, Sauer Glass, Torgerson Electric. I could go on. There's a long list, but we were biased towards the local partnerships as well. Anyway, I hope you learned a little bit about Federal Home Loan Bank of Topeka.
Yes, Karen.
I don't really have a question. I wanted to make sure you didn't get out of here without a big thank you from me and from all of us. I want to thank you for staying in Topeka and making the tremendous investment you have in this community. I want to thank you for the leadership that your staff has made. They are part of the Included Network, leading our corporate network in terms of diversity and inclusion in the workforce. I was director at Housing and Credit Counseling for years, as people know. And the Federal Home Loan Bank from the very beginning helped support the subsidies for the Toto home buyers that have made a difference in these neighborhoods. Every time you get a house and you fix it up for a first-time home buyer in our older neighborhood, there's a gap between how much money it costs to get that house ready to go and what the appraisal is at the time. And the Federal Home Loan Bank since 1992, I'm not going to have a total number on it, but has been involved in Toto most of those years, and Toto has now done over 450 homes in our Topeka neighborhoods that the bank has helped make a go, both for those neighborhoods as well as for those first-time home buyers. And lastly, if people haven't seen the news, you can check CJ Online probably right now in the news today, because the city has just announced that the Federal Home Loan Bank has granted out of that affordable housing money, the competitive money that Mark talked about, $750,000 to help low-income home buyers in our older neighborhoods fix up their homes when there are code violations. Thank you.
Karen, you stole my thunder, so all I have to offer is, as a fellow TBCer who met his wife in youth group in high school, it'd be my pleasure to have you sign the book plate there. The name of the book is The Magic Treehouse. We also have a Rotary 4-way test coin for you. That's a slogan and motto that we live by. And lastly, I'd like to loan you an application for membership with the understanding that you would fill that out and return it. Thank you so much. And now Grace has a quick announcement for all of you.
I'm very pleased to announce that everybody on the club officers and club directors slate has been elected, and I'm very pleased to tell you that. And also for the nominating committee, besides those three who are dictated by the bylaws, Mark, Joni, and Stan, because of their officers, the other two who will be on the nominating committee for next year are Curtis Sneeden and Grace Morrison. So thank you very much for your input and your help on all of this. We'll have fabulous leadership continuing next year.
Grace didn't help compile those results, by the way, so. Our speaker book that you're signing, Mark, will be donated to Ross Elementary's library in your honor. And with that said, our end of meeting announcements are next week we're right back here at the Cap Plaza in the Emerald Ballroom though, and our Guatemala International Service Project is going to be the topic of the program. So please, please, please make every effort to come. Also, one quick last announcement, the World Polio Day event that Blanche hosted, the video for that is posted on our Downtown Topeka Rotary YouTube site. So for those of you like me who unfortunately missed it, please feel free to check it out on the Downtown Topeka Rotary YouTube site. With that, let's say the four-way test and close our meeting. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Is it fun? Thank you.